Professional photographers realize the benefits that come from changing a camera's lens length. They'll do so not just to vary the way their subject is framed within the view, but to also psychologically change the way a specific shot might be interpreted. You see, a simple lens change can, for an example, take a story or a character from a position of power to a position of weakness in moments. All that simply by the lens length that's chosen for the shot. We'll use a file named Camera Lens to illustrate that. Let's first select the camera, then activate the Modify column on the right. Now, about halfway down, you'll find 9 stock lenses that are ready for use. Each of these, if put into play, will make the scene look just a little bit different. Now, a little above that, you'll see the default lens length that Max uses for its camera. The value is just a little bit over 43 millimeters. Max uses that particular length to accurately match up what the camera sees to what the human eye sees. In other words, it's the length of 43 millimeters that best simulates human vision. Now, watch what switching to a different lens length does to what you see in the camera view. Let's change over to a 20 millimeter lens. Now, a short or small lens length, something around 20 to 30 millimeters, is typically referred to as a wide-angle lens. You can see how far the camera's viewing area now spreads to the sides in the top view. Wide-angle lenses tend to exaggerate and distort the perspective of a shot. They also have a tendency to provide more of a feeling of massiveness to the objects in view. Now, as you study the way the lens length changes the way things look in the view, remember that the field of view, in other words, what you see inside the camera frame, changes inversely with the lens length being used. In plain English, that means shorter lens lengths, in other words, smaller millimeter values, produce a wider FOV, whereas longer lenses, lenses with a higher millimeter number, produce a more narrow field of view. And you see that here, with the short lens, 20 millimeters, you see how far to the sides the camera reaches in its view. Now let's change over to using an 85 millimeter lens. Here you see how the side-to-side field of view has been substantially reduced. Again, check out the top view. Now, a lens length of 85 millimeters or longer is typically referred to as a telephoto lens. Lenses in this length range usually minimize the effects of perspective distortion that you sometimes get when using shorter lenses. But the longer lens does come with a few drawbacks. One is the fact that longer lenses create a smaller viewing area. And two, telephoto lenses have a tendency to flatten out the dimension within a scene, creating the effect that objects look closer to each other than they actually are. So here we've seen a completely different look to our scene, all created by simply changing the lens length on our camera. Let's now take it back to 50 millimeters. Now, to create the effect of pulling tight or pushing away from the camera's main area of interest, your lens length can be animated, changing over time. Let's see if we can't do that. At frame 0 on the timeline, let's switch over to a 20 millimeter lens. We'll now turn on the auto key and move to frame 70. Here, we'll now change to an 85 millimeter lens. Now, that might be a tad too tight. Let's back that off a little bit by typing 75 into the lens value. After doing so, you're going to want to hit enter to lock that down. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's now scrub the timeline. Now, don't be confused. This isn't the same as dollying the camera, which simply moves the camera in and out on a track. Here, the camera is staying fixed in its position. It's only the lens length that's changing. You can see that shortening of the lens in the top and left-hand views when I scrub the timeline. So that'll give you a few things you can do now with your lenses. It's a powerful tool if used in the right way.